Sven the brave Viking sailor. A story of accountability, compassion, and hard work. Long ago, in a village on the rugged northern shores, lived a young Viking sailor named Sven. Sven loved the sea. He had grown up watching the mighty Viking ships sail across the fjords, and he dreamed of becoming a brave sailor who would travel far and wide. But Sven had much to learn about what it truly meant to be a great sailor, not just skill with a sail, but the importance of accountability, compassion, and hard work. One day, Sven was given a great opportunity. The village chief, Olaf, asked Sven to join the crew of the Stormbringer, the village's largest ship, on a journey to trade goods across the sea. Sven was thrilled and eager to prove himself as a capable sailor. "Remember, Sven," Olaf said before they set sail, "a true Viking sailor is not only strong but also responsible for his actions. And a great leader shows kindness to his crew, especially in tough times." Sven nodded enthusiastically, not fully understanding the wisdom in Olaf's words just yet. The first few days of the voyage were smooth. The wind was strong, and the sea was calm. Sven worked hard alongside the other sailors, hoisting the sails, scrubbing the deck, and keeping watch over the supplies. But on the fourth day, disaster struck. Sven had been put in charge of securing the ropes that held the ship's supplies in place. Confident in his ability, he tied them quickly and joined the crew at the front of the ship. What Sven didn't realize was that he hadn't secured the ropes tightly enough. A sudden storm rolled in, bringing with it fierce winds and crashing waves. The Stormbringer rocked and swayed, and before long, the ropes Sven had tied came loose. The barrels of food and supplies slid across the deck, some tumbling into the sea. The sailors panicked as the storm raged on. "The supplies are gone," one of them shouted. "What are we going to do?" Sven's heart sank. He knew it was his fault the supplies had been lost, but he was too scared to say anything. Instead, he kept quiet, hoping no one would realize it was because of his mistake. When the storm finally passed, the crew gathered on the deck to assess the damage. The sailors were upset, knowing they had lost important supplies. Captain Olaf looked around the crew, his eyes full of concern. "We have lost much of our food and supplies," the captain said gravely. "If we don't ration carefully, we won't have enough to make it back home." Sven felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He knew he had to own up to his mistake, but it was hard to admit that he was the one responsible. After a long silence, Sven took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Captain Olaf, it was my fault the supplies were lost," Sven said, his voice trembling. "I didn't tie the ropes properly. I'm sorry." The crew looked at Sven in surprise, but Captain Olaf nodded thoughtfully. "It takes courage to admit your mistakes, Sven," the captain said. "But what matters most is how you fix them." Sven's face turned red with shame. "I'll do whatever it takes to make up for it," he said earnestly. From that moment on, Sven worked harder than ever. He volunteered to take on extra duties, helping the crew ration their remaining supplies and coming up with new ways to conserve food. The crew noticed his dedication, and although they were still worried about the lost supplies, they respected Sven's determination to make things right. One evening, as the crew huddled together for a meager dinner, Sven saw one of the younger sailors, Eric, sitting quietly with a sad look on his face. Eric hadn't eaten much, and Sven knew that the rations were taking a toll on him. Sven thought about what Olaf had said about compassion. He had made a mistake, but he could still be kind and help those who were struggling. Without hesitation, Sven offered Eric half of his own food. "Here, take this," Sven said gently. "You need it more than I do." Eric looked up, surprised. "But you worked so hard today, Sven. You need your strength." "I'll be fine," Sven replied with a smile. "We're all in this together, and we'll get through it if we help each other." Eric's eyes filled with gratitude as he accepted the food. "Thank you, Sven. You're a true friend." Days turned into weeks, and the journey home was long and difficult. But Sven never gave up. He kept working hard, always finding ways to help the crew. Whether it was repairing torn sails or hauling water from the sea, Sven stayed dedicated to the success of the mission. Finally, after many days at sea, the Stormbringer sailed into the familiar fjord of their village. The crew cheered as they saw their home on the horizon. Despite the hardships they had faced, they had made it back safely. When they docked, Captain Olaf approached Sven. "You've grown a lot on this journey, Sven," the captain said with pride. "You took responsibility for your actions, showed compassion to your crew, and worked harder than anyone to ensure our success. That's what it means to be a true Viking sailor." Sven beamed with pride. He knew that the journey had taught him valuable lessons about owning up to mistakes, being kind to others, and the importance of hard work and dedication. And from that day forward, Sven was not just a sailor. He was a leader, respected by his crew and admired by all. As the sun set over the village, Sven looked out at the sea, knowing that the lessons he had learned would stay with him for the rest of his life. The voyage had been difficult, but it had made him stronger, braver, and more compassionate than ever before.